Hello and welcome to NepaliNati.com. In this video, we are going to talk about the three most common mistakes made by students in the CCL examination. So let's get started. So the first one is getting stuck on a word while interpreting. So this is very important. So what I mean by that is when you hear a segment in English or LOTE, which in this case is Nepali, then you may not know the interpretation of each and every word in the other language. And that's why you might get stuck while speaking. So let's have a look at an example. So here I have a sentence. So the sentence is, there seems to be some triggering agent behind your bleeding. How long have you been suffering from this problem? Let's imagine this is the segment that you hear in English. And let's imagine that this word triggering is the one which you don't know the translation of in Nepali. For example, so while students start interpreting this segment, they will go like this. तपाईको रक्तस्राव पछाडि केही 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 भयो. Can I rephrase this sentence? तपाईको रक्तस्रावको पछाडि केही केही okay, so see, they do this. Now the consequence of doing this would be, number one, their oral fluency decreases. Number two, in this case, let's say even though the student has written down everything, there are two sentences in this segment, even though the student has written the first sentence and the second sentence in his or her notes, he or she may not say the last sentence because that person got stuck on this word which is triggering. Now, if you don't know the interpretation of this word exactly in Nepali, you should not do that. Carry on. Either skip the word or say the word in English, or if you know the meaning, you can explain what it is and then go on to the second sentence as well, which is how long have you been suffering from this problem. So when you skip the word, you will lose marks. It's not that you won't lose, but you lose few marks as compared to when you try to interpret the word and you lose your oral fluency as well. So considering that you don't know the interpretation of the word triggering, your answer should sound like this. तपाईको रक्तस्राव पछाडि केही समस्या भएको जस्तो देखिन्छ. तपाईलाई यो समस्याबाट ग्रस्त भएको कति समय भयो? Exactly like that. Okay? So when I did that, there is no distortion in meaning and I did not hesitate anywhere. So yes, I did skip the word triggering. I may lose marks. So let's say that this segment has 5 marks and I may get 3.5 or 4. But I don't get 1 or 1.5. If you, on the other hand, if you interpret like the way I did in the beginning with hesitations, then you may get even 1.5 or 2 because in that attempt, you lost your oral fluency, you had a problem with your oral fluency, and the second thing is that you could not interpret the second segment because of that problem. So be very careful. Now, even though you lose marks for not saying this word, you will pass the examination because we only need 63 out of 90. So it means it's not like you have to give the perfect answer. You know, one of the most common mistakes that students do is, well, they try to interpret segments, the longer segments or the difficult ones, they try to do it 100% correct. Yes, you should try to, but you know, don't force yourself because 100% interpretation cannot be done actually, because you will never find any students who is going to get 90 out of 90 in the CCL exam. So you are going to mistakes. You should accept that mistakes are inevitable, but you don't give a worst performance in one of the segments like the way I did, where you just say the first sentence and then you don't say the rest. In that case, you may get 1.5 out of 5, which is not something that we want if we want to pass the CCL examination. When it comes to corrections or rephrasing, there are no limitations as said by the Nati itself. But the thing is, if you ask for too many repetitions or corrections or rephrasing, you may not pass the exam even though the interpretation has been done well. For example, if you, while interpreting one segment, if you do self-corrections like 5 or 6 times and then after that the interpretation is perfect, but then you may not get as much marks because it took you 5-6 attempts. Now in the real interpretation scenario, think about that. Would anyone hire a interpreter who does a correction 5 or 6 times every time he or she speaks? Definitely not, isn't it? So the examiners, will think that as well, will think from that perspective while giving you a score. So it's important that you don't ask too many repetitions and not too many corrections. Even though there are no penalty for correction, you should not do that. So if you ask me, I would say limit your repetitions to less than 3 per dialogue, and your corrections should also be less than 5, not too much. Only do corrections in minor mistakes. If you forgot the whole segment, don't bother even correcting yourself or rephrasing, because you are not going to memorize it. You are only going to be defluent. So make sure limit your corrections to 5 and repetitions to 3 per dialogue. The third most common mistake is students put too much focus on note taking. So I'll give an example again. Let's have a look at this sentence. Sorry, this segment. There seems to be some triggering agent behind your bleeding. How long have you been suffering from this problem? So in this segment, there are two information. One is that there seems to be some kind of triggering agent behind bleeding, and the second information is the doctor asking question, how long? Two information. Now, if you try to take everything down, if you try to write there seems to be some triggering, as it is, then you will miss the second segment. You won't be able to write the second segment. And if you have not written anything from the second sentence, if you have not written anything from the second sentence, you will miss this whole information, and you will say this only, and it means, which is what? You only interpreted half of it, so you get half marks, maybe 2.5 out of 5. So that's not good. So you should write only few words for each information, but you do not want to miss out any information. For example, for the first sentence here, from there seems to be some triggering agent behind your bleeding. This is the first sentence, and this is the second sentence, right? So for the first sentence, write less words, maybe even 1 or 2. And for the second sentence, write less words, 1 or 2. So this way, you will not miss any information, because you have written both the information, but you have less. So when you start interpreting, you will reconstruct the sentence without any significant distortion. Yes, there will be additions. You will add the words that are not there because you reconstruct the sentence. But with words like articles and conjunctions, if we add them, it doesn't make any significant difference. You may lose marks, maybe 0.5, but at the end of the day, you will easily get 63 and above. So for example, if I were you, I would write my notes like this. So for the first sentence, I would write seems triggering agent bleed, suffering problem, and then question mark. So see, with this one, I can clearly see that, then I will say that तपाईको रक्तस्राव पछाडि केही उत्प्रेरित गर्ने तत्त्व भएको देखिन्छ. तपाईलाई यो समस्या भएको कति समय भयो? See, that's quite easy, right? So when you compare this word count with this is significantly less, maybe less than 1/3. So this is how you should take notes. I have discussed earlier in the previous video how to take notes. You can go ahead and watch that video. But in brief, this is what your note taking should look like. So do not focus more on note taking. In fact, I would say your focus should be less on note taking and more on understanding the scenario, because it is a dialogue, it is a conversation between two people. So take it easy, don't stress yourself out. If you're talking to a friend, you pretty much remember everything that the friend is saying at the moment, isn't it? But if we turn this into an exam scenario, we start to panic, we start to go into the word level, right? Because we start to become nervous about words such as triggering, bleeding, suffering. We don't look at the gist of the conversation at that moment, and that's one of the most common mistakes as well. So focus more on the gist, on understanding, and less on note taking. The more you practice, the better you become at it. Remember, CCL is skill, not intelligence. So do not blame yourself. Do not blame your academic background. Do not say that I was the last student in my class, I always failed the subjects, or I struggle, so I also have problem with CCL. Don't blame yourself, because CCL is skill. It is not intelligence. So the more you practice, the better you get at it. The thing is, you need to have right guidance and right practice materials. Just practicing 10 dialogues is not enough. Just practicing while you're in the classroom is not enough. You need to practice as much as you can. You need to build up your confidence. That's very important. And I must say, those students whom I have guided, whom I have taught, they have all passed the examination. 100% of the students have passed the examination. So if you'd like to know more about the course that they studied and their class duration, go to nepalinati.com and go to self-study kit. There you can see a course package, which is gold kit, which involves one-on-one class, mock test. I give you directions, instructions on how to study. I'll conduct a test. I will give you feedback based on the test. You have 60 dialogues. You can practice anytime, anywhere you want, because it is all online. So as long as you have internet and a laptop or a mobile phone, you can access the dialogues from anywhere. So that's the way to practice CCL. If you need to contact me, you can contact me via Facebook or via email as well. I'll leave the contact details in the comment section. Let's hope that this video has helped you, and the 3 mistakes that I described in this video you will prevent from repeating these mistakes, and hopefully pass the examination. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.